I have something actually to present, actually from a physics video. And I commented to a guy because it's all about Coriolis. And it's been 3 days, he hasn't commented back to me after he asked me to explain. And I did explain it to him. And well, yeah, he'll rather go and ignore what I've said, we no wonder why, and go to lead the others. Okay, so I'm going to go and let's see if we can watch that video and we can see if you guys...
I'm currently in India, and if I get some supernatural powers to hang up in the...
Oh, okay, I'm sure you guys can all hear that. And it's showing. Okay, this is anyway, FloatHeadPhysics is an Indian physics channel actually. Very cool stuff. I do like his channel. He's got some great content. I do suggest you guys go subscribe to him and watch, as he has some great things and good ways to explain. But this one in particular was really interesting to me, the way he tried to explain this, because I think he sort of knows the problem and there's no way to get around it, because if you're going to do this you have a few problems. Let me just show you.
Sky, and if I hang up in the sky for about 12 hours, will I reach US? Or there's some physics behind it which would stop me from doing so.
Yeah, so anyway, this guy wrote a question to him and he asking is, in short, if he's going to be able to be suspended in free space, which would be in the air, and the earth is moving underneath him, which is claimed to happen, would he be able to, after 12 hours, reach the USA from his current location in India? Because obviously the ground is moving underneath him. That is the question. Let's see how he is trying to fix this problem, because that is the narrative. The globe moves, the ground moves underneath, hence Coriolis.
Interestingly, I think the answer is yes. And I want to...
Ha! You see? There we go. Already there, Globe Defenders. He says, yes. Yes, if you go up, you would reach it because the ground is moving underneath. So they're already... Sorry, anti-flat earthers, you've already got debunked by your own physics.
I'm going to talk about why I think so. But before I start, thanks a lot, Easy Electronics. Let me know what your name is, for asking this question, because I think at everyone at some point in their life has wondered upon some version of this question. I remember I always wondered, like, if I jump high enough, then when I land, will I be on a different part of the planet because the earth is spinning? Okay, so let's start thinking about this. Let's imagine there's Superman standing right next to us, and he's going to take off vertically, hang up in the sky for some time, and he's going to come back. What will happen? Well, we have a video for that. This is not a video of Superman hanging up in the sky. It's a different video, but the cool things about physics is you can connect one things to another. So I want you to see this video.
Yeah, you're gonna see this is sort of like, you know what Simon and Dad did when he tried to say you and your reference frame are ruined? It's exactly the same. Conservation of linear momentum, actually. But yeah.
Made by John White on Newton's law of inertia, and I want you to try and connect it to our situation. Alright, so here you go. Let me do full screen. The link is in the description. Pretty cool video, you should check it out. Alright, here we go. Okay, at first we might say that this has nothing to do with we might think this has nothing to do with what we are discussing, but can you pause and think about what would the car represent, what would the people represent, and what would the ball represent?
Simply, he's trying to say this would be the earth moving, this would be you watching Superman go up vertically. In other words, he's saying because you have momentum, conservation of momentum, it's going to move with you. But we're going to see how it doesn't really work that way, because there's a few things you have to ignore to have this happening.
In our analogy. Alright, so the car represents the earth. Why? Because you're considering the earth spinning and we're considering the car moving. The car moving represents the earth spinning. The people on the car represent the earthlings, us. And what does the ball represent over here?
Superman.
The ball represents Superman. The ball doesn't possess supernatural ability, so it doesn't hang up in the sky, but we can sort of use that to kind of imagine what would have happened, right? What we see is that, what do we see? We see that even though he threw the ball straight up in the sky, it didn't stay up. The ball just didn't stay up, and the car just didn't go forward.
Yes, there's a reason for that. It's because of the conservation of momentum. He threw it while it is moving, so it's going to go with him, obviously. But let's go on.
What we see is that the ball is, let's look at it one more time. We see that the ball is traveling with the car forward as it goes up and comes back. Why is that happening? Because of inertia. Because even before the ball was thrown up, it had a forward velocity, which was the same as the velocity of this dude, which was the same as the velocity of this van, right? And so when it gets thrown up, along with going up, it continues to go forward because of its inertia. You can see it continues. It's not going straight up, it's going at an angle.
I just want you guys to pay attention because it's probably going to get to that point. You see where it's still aligned with his head, correct? He's going to stop at a point where it's no more aligned with him, it's behind him. Just have to point
as
that
you
out.
can see. And because of that, it's all...
Oh, where is his arms going now to catch it? Has it lost energy? Weird. So it's not going to be impartant full energy, conserving that energy forever, is it? No, it's going to lose the energy from that momentum and it's going to deviate.
always traveling with him, and therefore it comes straight.
See where he's catching the ball. He threw it here in relation to him, and this is where he caught it. So, this showing inertia exactly, conservation of momentum, but it's also showing that if you guys want to claim it's an infinite conservation, it's debunking that because there's no such thing as infinite conservation of momentum.
Back in his hand.
See where he's catching it? He threw it here, this is where he caught it. So it's lost energy once he's released, and the earth will move underneath him. So in other words, the earth will still move away and you will still see deviation from that ball, which would be an actual deviation. This would be an actual deviation, not an apparent deviation, because you would actually be moving away from that ball.
So can you use this and think about what would happen with Superman? Alright, just like that, Superman would be hanging up in the sky from our perspective. We would see him hanging up in the sky, just like how this dude saw the ball hanging, going straight up. And then when Superman comes back, he will come back in our arms, land in the same position.
See, you're already ignoring. He will not come back in your arms. He will not land in the same position because you'd be losing energy thanks to inertia, because the earth would still carry on with the same acceleration. He would not. He would not be moving with it. He would only move a bit with it until it's lost that momentum, until it's lost that inertial energy.
And what would somebody like an alien would see when they look at the earth from outside? They would see the earth spinning, but when Superman takes off, they don't see Superman taking vertically up. They would see Superman taking off at an angle, and they would see, just like what we saw over here, that Superman, as he takes off, they would see that the Superman will always be above the earth, that position, that look.
He's trying to explain Coriolis effect. This would be the apparent deviation. So this would also be for the guy that threw the ball. He would see this apparent deflection as well, because it will look as if the ball is, or Superman is going at an arc. Not because it is, it's because it's apparently. That would be for his aliens as well. It's an apparent deviation. It doesn't mean he is flying at that, it means he is appearing to fly at that arc.
Location on the earth, even though the earth is spinning and going forward, they would actually see Superman just always horizontally, always above, just like what we saw in this video. So from this video, it's clear that no, if you hang up in the sky and you come back down, you will be in that same position. But
I just showed you why that's not true, but yeah.
You might say, Mahesh, in the video, the car and everything was going straight, but Earth is round. So we're not going straight. So what would happen to Superman if he stood up long enough? Would he follow the curvature of the Earth, or something else would happen? That's an interesting question. We're stretching the analogy. What do you think will happen?
difference between angular conservation of angular momentum and linear momentum. You showed conservation of linear momentum, and if you want to put it with angular momentum, you're going to have a bit different results, but about the same. Like I said, you lose energy. So when you lose energy, depending how the time duration is in the air, it will fall down in a different location. So even based on everything you've been showing here, because you claim Earth is spinning, we would see deviation of things in the air. That would include airplanes and helicopters and bullets and balls and birds and whatever, people jumping in the air and suspended in the air, people with parachutes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at this point, we have to make some assumptions because Superman is breaking laws of physics. So if we assume that Superman can always counter gravity, like will always be able to somehow put a force against gravity as he's hanging up in the sky, then there will be no net force acting on Superman, and therefore, from first law of inertia, that he will continue to be in the state of rest or motion in a straight line, right? So when Superman is hanging up there, we already know that he has a velocity forward which he got due to the Earth's spin. Okay?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. If the Earth was spinning and he was on the ground, he has a velocity because of that momentum, and he's going up. So in other words, he's keeping that inertial vector. But like I said, then he's ignoring that it does lose energy. It's not a constant energy momentum.
Therefore, he would continue to keep traveling in that straight line forever, but we would just follow the curvature of the Earth. That means Superman will not follow us. Eventually, Superman will just like go far away from the Earth. So what would we really see is not Superman hanging up over there. What we would really see, well, we will see Superman going like this. We will see him going this way, right? Because we are curving down, so from our perspective, we'll see Superman going up.
Because we are curving down with the spinning ball, it will seem as he is going further up and... aka Coriolis effect.
So this is worse. Forget America. You will just like escape the Earth. So
yeah, Coriolis effect. We would see an apparent deviation of Superman because the Earth would be spinning underneath him, and the so-called drift would just be an apparent drift. What would really be actual is his location changed to it because Earth would still be moving away from him, underneath him.
It won't work out. But at the beginning of the video, I said that it's possible. We said that yes, it's possible. And that's because of perspective. See, in this particular case, Superman is hanging up in the sky from our perspective, from the perspective of the Earth or the perspective of human beings. But he was not hanging up in the sky from an outsider perspective. From an outsider perspective, like we saw in the video.
Yeah, the guy taking the video was an outsider perspective.
Superman took off at an angle, right? And so, and he was always having a velocity. But what if Superman can take off in such a way that he counters his inertia? Superman takes off at an angle such that his forward velocities exactly counters his velocity that he has due to the Earth's spin.
Whoopsie. So in other words, if the Earth is spinning westward and an airplane takes up and flies eastward, is he countering that velocity? What is going to happen? The Earth is just going to move and he is going that way because he's now countered that velocity. There's no force pushing him back that way. There's no energy bringing him that way. Planes do not fly backwards, do they?
Then what would happen? Again, I want you to imagine this situation. What would happen as you see from the Earth's perspective? What would happen if you see from a perspective which is outside the Earth? I have another video for that. Yay! Here is a video made by Mythbusters. It's uploaded in some other channel. Soccer ball shot from a truck. So what's going to happen here?
Yes, that's a truck in America. It's called, by us it's a bucky, but in America they call it a truck.
Let me just show you. All right. So there's a truck and there's a cannon that is like attached to the truck backwards. They're gonna shoot a ball backwards, and they're gonna shoot it at exactly the same speed backwards as the truck's forward speed. Can you see how this is analogous to our situation? Again, you have to use the analogy and you have to connect the dots. Let's see what happens in this case.
Yeah, this is actually very interesting, and I actually went and like I said, I left a comment on his video based on this. We'll go through the comment afterwards, and you'll see he hasn't even responded to me because of that.
All right, here we go.
Sorry, just gotta go with the. Just gotta quickly change because of the ads. Let's see, skipping ad. We'll get to it now. Let's get it. Exactly, your globe is broken. Why would you believe in such ignorance? I thought you were a teacher. Hey, Professor Bell, good to see you. Glad you could make it. Yeah, there's so much problems with their globe. It's not even funny. Let's go back to watching the video. See if it's showing. Oh, did I not? Oh, it's showing. Okay.
All right, let's see.
See how the ball is staying there?
What did you see? What did you see?
It's left.
You see that the ball is just like hanging there. This time it doesn't travel with the car. So again, if you use our analogy, the car represents the earth, the humans over there represent the earthlings, and the ball represents Superman. This time the Superman's backward velocity exactly countered his forward velocity due to the inertia that he gained from Earth's spin, or the car's motion over here. The two cancel out, and horizontally he has zero.
So there would be two things here. Because he cancelled out the inertia, he would stay where he is as the Earth moves away from him. So, in other words, his location would change because the Earth would still be moving underneath him. Secondly, he has lost, because this is not powered flights, as you say, let's say like Superman or an aeroplane and stuff, they would still have the velocity going that way. So it would carry on moving that way as the Earth moves in the opposite direction. So you can climb in an airplane or a helicopter and you could fly eastward while the Earth is going westward. You've counted that momentum, that inertia, and you are moving in the opposite direction, and thus you can just move to get to your destination at a much quicker pace. Because why? It's like going on a treadmill. If you are jumping up from a treadmill and the treadmill is moving underneath you, that treadmill's still moving, you are going to land at a different location. Hence why your globe is broken.
Velocity. So what would have happened if they had shot not backward but at an angle? You can kind of imagine that the ball would have just gone straight up. Can you imagine that, right? Like, I don't have a video for that. The ball would have gone straight up, the car would have gone forward. Same thing would happen with Superman. If he takes off at an angle like this, then from an outside perspective, he would go straight up in the air, and when he stays there, he's hanging up in the air, as seen from an outside perspective, an alien's perspective, let's say. And then when he decides to come back, Earth is spinning, just like how the car went forward, the Earth is spinning, and then when he decides to come back, he'll be on a different part of the planet, so...
Ha! There we go. Globers, you might want to contact FloatHeadPhysics because he's just debunked your whole argument that everything moves together velcroed to the Earth.
It's possible that if he started from India, if Superman started from India, it's possible that he might reach US. I don't understand the geography and stuff, like I don't know exactly where he'll reach, but you get the point. He'll be on the other side of the planet. But what would we see? Like, what would humans see? Well, again, we can go back to the video and we can look at the video perspective. Alright, so here we go. Look at that. From our perspective, with the onboard camera that we have, which is very similar to the Earth's perspective, we just see that the football was thrown back. And that makes sense because from our perspective, we just shot it backwards and all we'll see is the football going back. So what would we see Superman doing? Well, from our...
Yeah, exactly. That's what you would see. You would see the deviation. You would see us moving away from it. It would land at a different location. And what do we see in reality? We do not see this ever, because everything always gets to the destination that it's gone to. Shoot the bullet up in the air, it's going to land up where it's supposed to be. Kick a ball in the air, it lands where you've kicked it. Fly an airplane, the earth is not moving underneath it. You are just flying to your destination. Hence why we say if you have to fly in the opposite direction, you would get there much quicker. If you just had to take a hot air balloon and float around in the sky, the earth would move underneath and you would get to a different location.
From our perspective, we'll just see Superman going back. And we'll see it's normal. He's just flying to the other side of the world, so we don't see anything special. We wouldn't say Superman hung up in the sky, because from our perspective, he just flew backwards. From the alien perspective, on the other hand, though, from outside, they would see Superman hanging up in the sky, and therefore they would see him stationary, and then he would come back, and they would see that the earth has fallen beneath his ground. So technically, that's why, depending on the perspective, technically the answer is yes.
Okay, that made it quite cool. Let's check it. Please guys, do like it and do subscribe to me. It does have very good content. Okay, let's see. I left him a message. This was 3 days ago. The problem is that when you evoke conservation of momentum, you throw away the argument to be able to observe Coriolis effect. Also, what would be angular momentum or linear momentum? So I simply asked him, is he trying to claim angular momentum, conservation momentum, or linear, because he's showing linear momentum here, obviously. But exactly that my point was, because if you're claiming it's moving with the earth, then you won't be able to observe Coriolis because it would be moving with you. So he says he doesn't understand. How can I elaborate? Sure, I elaborated for him, and I just said, first Coriolis effect has to be observed. He observed you will have to be on the non-inertial reference frame. That would be the earth, the spinning frame. So you are on the moving, observing this in case is Superman having apparent deviation. So you are on Earth, you're looking at Superman, you moving away, and it gives Superman that apparent deviation that you see, because it's you moving, not Superman. If you claim conservation of momentum, which is saying inertia, this would be an angular momentum or linear momentum. He still hasn't answered me, as they both have different applications, which he sort of explained in the video. But the how can I put it? The effect will sort of be the same. It will just, the one will have angular deviation, where the one will have a linear deviation. Also, the point that they showed on Mythbusters demonstration is the ball loses its energy and so is limited to the location name. Exactly what I said. Because he shot it out, it's a ball. He's just used up that energy and thus just plops down and falls down. So it's lost its energy. As for Superman or plane and so forth, a flight would take less by flying eastward than westward, as the ground would be moving at 480 meters a second, just about westward, at the equator. And Superman or plane, helicopter and so forth would have countered the momentum and now has a positive vector eastward. Exactly. So what I was trying to say is, if you hop in a plane or whatever and you're flying opposite to the direction, you've counteracted that momentum, that inertia. There's no more force pulling you back. You are going. And because the plane is still having a positive, how can I put it, a positive vector going the other way, because he's countered it, he's still going to be moving opposite to the earth. It's the same as if you take someone swimming in a stream. They're swimming opposite to the stream. They're still going to be swimming, and they just have to struggle more to go the opposite way. But what happens when they climb out the water and they go? The water's going to go and they're just going to go the opposite way. No problem. So hopefully that made sense to you guys.